Hello, good afternoon. Emmanuel speaking.
Hello, Emmanuel. This is Ginger with the Overdrive Show. How are you today?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Oh, I love your accent, so I'm going to really enjoy this interview.
Oh, thank you.
I, you have quite a extensive background in different places you've lived, so your accent's probably a culmination of all those things, correct?
Yes, it is. I like to call it a little bit confused, and depending on how passionate I get, it tends to change, and you'll find that some words are more pronounced than others. And so, I apologize in advance for the cacophony and the smorgasbord of different cacophony of different sounds and the smorgasbord of different accents that you're probably going to hear in this, during this interview. But hope it's all good.
Well, I can definitely hear the British. That's very prominent for sure. I love that, but it definitely is a mix of several different things. I want to know if I'm saying your name right. So your first name is Emmanuel, and it's Ogunjumon. Is that
Yeah, it's a Gunjumo. Yeah,
okay?
it's a
So
Gunjumo. So
I'm
yeah.
that's close, basically. I like to try to say people's name right, but I also don't want to butcher their names. I'm try to do it justice, but yours is challenging for sure.
Uh, if people can call it me Emmanuel, oh, that's okay too. Right?
Oh, there you go. Emmanuel's easy. That one I know. Well, it's really, excited to talk to you because this is a very just unique topic. I mean, I interview everybody from films to music and books and different topics, but this is definitely something that's in a whole other direction. Well, first of all, you born in Africa, but then you were raised in Oman and England before coming to the US, and you have a lot of degrees. You have studied a little bit of everything, and especially finance. So you moved Asia, Europe, the US. So this has to have not only influenced your accent, but like your passion about, giving the financial opportunities to people in the third world, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's you know, in every place that you go, people have different maxims and there are different paradigms, uh, in the world. And one of those maxims is that you have, especially over here, in a developed world, is if you work hard, you'll be successful.
Yeah.
Now, that is actually interesting. If you work hard, you will be successful. But what the reality of what I've seen overseas and elsewhere is that you do have people working hard and really working hard and doing the best that they can. But because you don't have the systems in place, institutions, or you don't have the cultural environment set up for success, those people work hard, but they're not successful. They're not getting to where they want to be because they do not have the same structures as we have over here. And
Right.
I always used to wonder that, and then I read at some point in Ecclesiastes 10:10 in the Bible where it says that you know if the axe is dull, right,
Right.
much force or much effort is required, but wisdom brings success, right? And so that goes to tell you that if you're going to cut down a tree, you need to sharpen the axe, right? And so hard work, right? If you don't sharpen the axe, you're going to be using a lot of strength, and then you're going to be doing a lot of work, but doesn't mean that you're going to be successful. So ultimately, what I realized with all the experiences that I've had is that it's not just hard work, that kind of brings success. There's more to it than that. There's smart work. The right systems have to be in place. The right opportunities have to be put in front of people, and the right environment needs to exist for people really to be able to achieve the potential that God has given them. And since I know that Christ says he shows no partiality to man, I understand that a lot of these are, these things where you have such inequality is man's doing, and we can influence that. And I think as long as we have the opportunity to do so through finance, technologies, etc., that's something we should be looking to do.
Well, you have a lot of education in different areas. I saw you have like chemical and biomolecular engineering and theology and biblical studies. So you have all of these different things, but you also have, studied the finance. So like that probably brought out those things as you were looking into. I really, when I looked into, as soon as I saw Christ coin, I will admit I was a little standoffish at first. I was, the money changers in the temple thing. I mean, you hear the word Christ associated with the word coin, and automatically it's kind of like I got to figure out more about this program. But you have a background of both your personal background and your educational background that gives you kind of like a world view of how all these things work. And so how did Christ coin come into fruition? Because I don't think people realize how difficult it is for some ministries to get finances to their ministry to carry out what they need to do. But you've just put this thing in place that's so amazing. Can you tell us more about how Christ coin came into fruition?
Yes, absolutely. I would love to. Christ coin, the name itself, coin. This is how it came about. Coin just represents a currency, and Christ is, of course, our Lord and Savior if we're believers. And so Christ coin is just a coin or currency that is being used to advance the work of Christ on earth. So that's how Christ coin came to be. A currency or coin that is used to advance the mission of Christ. Therefore, hence Christ coin. And what is that mission? Well, the Great Commission, right, that God has given us is to go into the world, make disciples of all the nations, and teach them to observe the things that He's taught us. So you have three parts to it: go, make, and teach.
Right.
Well, the first part of that is go.
Yeah.
Okay. And unfortunately, unfortunately, if we do not have the resources to go or to have people or to support people, then unfortunately, people won't be able to go. Because the reality is that we all have responsibilities, and people have responsibilities for their family. That is a mission field on its own. Right. And then we also have responsibilities for others. If we're going to follow the Great Commission, we need to be able to go, and that requires resources. As you mentioned, there are many churches that would love to be able to go, whether it's overseas or somewhere within the nation, or just to their backyard, and go and help people in their communities, but they're unable to because they do not have the resources. Well, what we started to think about was this idea of what if we're able to somehow get everyday people the opportunity to earn extra income such that they can tithe it to their churches or give it to their organizations, and churches can do this as well. They can earn additional money, right? And, what if we can do that? Then how much more people can we reach? How many more places can we go? Right, and if we're able to go there, then we're able to change people's paradigm, and we're able to introduce God into any situation. We know that when we introduce Christ into any situation, it changes, especially for the better, right? And so the idea behind Christ coin is empowering the churches, right, and not burdening them, but empowering the churches and individuals to be able to partake in fulfilling the work of Christ and the Great Commission here on earth. Right, so that we can live better lives together, so that we can advance the work of the kingdom of Christ. And I hope I'll be able to talk more about how we can do that and how Christ Coin and Life Change allows us to do that. But in a gist, that's how Christ Coin came to fruition.
And this is with the program Life Change. So that's correct? If I have this correct, the mission is life change. The platform is life change that you do this through, correct?
Yeah.
And
Yes,
tell us
absolutely.
about life change.
Okay. In a nutshell, what Life Change, what the Life Change platform proposes to do and then desires to do is it wants to unite the Christian community together, right, as one for the purpose of reviving hope, repairing lives, and rebuilding dreams,
Yeah.
in a sense. Now, the question is, how does the Life Change platform do that? Well, when people come onto the Life Change platform, what they're able to do is they're able to partake in spiritual activity, right? Which is, for example, we're developing our own Bible platform where people will be able to read the Bible. We're developing a blogging platform where people will be able to consume Christian information. They'll be able to stream music. If you're a kid or so, you can potentially play, Christian-based games, etc. But the wonderful thing about this is that as people are doing this on this Life Change platform, they will be able to earn tokens that are called Christ coins. That's what it is. They'll be able to earn this digital currency simply by consuming this information. And then as they consume this information, they then will be able to turn around and tithe that to churches or give all of it to churches or to other humanitarian organizations to be able to fulfill the mission of God. Not only that, let's say that there's a church organization that's on the platform. As their information is being consumed, their spiritual information, I have to clarify, as that information is being consumed, then they have the opportunity to earn these same Christ coin tokens, and then they can redeem that for other digital currency, or they can redeem those for fiat currencies. And when I say fiat currencies, I'm talking about things such as the dollar or the pound, right, or the Deutschmark, right, or the franc, right, or the lira, just depending on different fiat currencies.
Right.
So what we're doing then is we're allowing now. It's important to say this is just an example. Okay, let's say the Christ coin tokens is valuable. We've done it in such a way whereby, let's say you and I get on there, and in a year's time we earn, let's say, $300 or $500. Well, for me and you, $300 and $500 may seem rather insignificant in the grand scheme of things. May in a year, okay?
Yeah.
But consider this: what if there's a church of 100 people, and each member of the church earns, right, for that church, $300? Now you're looking at $30,000 that the church can use to do wonderful things in their community, or they can use to sponsor missionaries, or they can use to go on mission trips, or they can use to feed the poor, right? And so the way it is for us, right, and we've done it this way so that we do not want people just to come onto this platform simply to earn more money, to use it as a money-making scheme. No, right. This is about advancing the kingdom of God. But here's the thing. Now there's an incentive as well. Kids who want to do some certain things can do the same thing, right? Because who want to help but don't know how to help can do the same thing. There was an article in 2015 that said that about 78% of the households in the U.S. live paycheck to paycheck. Well, people want to give.
Yeah.
In this way, through the Life Change platform, you don't have to dip into your income. You can give seamlessly simply by following those same spiritual disciplines that you would do anyway. But now you're helping to advance the cause of Christ simply by doing that. And I can promise you, for the half of the world's population to live on less than $3 a day. It might be a little bit more now due to inflation. Imagine what an extra $300 per year could do for those people. That's a 25% increase in their income. What would that do for their family? There's a lot of potential here, and it's because of the cross not only being vertical but being horizontal, which means we have to reach out to our neighbors. This is why we have created this Life Change platform, and we're introducing this digital currency into the marketplace.
And
hopefully people see the thing, see what it's able to do.
yeah, and technology is so important for all ministries. I know some churches and different things that they're hesitant to get involved with technology, but you can't be stagnant. The ministry, everything is operating through technology, and you know, the enemy might use it for evil, but that doesn't mean technology is bad. Technology is how information is shared between ministries or between social lives. And so how important do you think it is for the church to embrace technology like this, especially when you're talking about helping people across the world? I mean, this would not be possible without using technology, correct?
Oh, absolutely. I think sometimes historically the church has been standoffish, as you mentioned. There are some people, when the TV first came on, they thought that the TV was a no-no, and so therefore people did not embrace TV. Some people did not embrace social media as well as a means to reach the world, right? And some people just did not do that, and so to some degree, unfortunately, they became culturally irrelevant.
Right.
And we have to be careful about that, because when Jesus came as well, when Jesus became a man, right, and came into this world and lived amongst us, when he would explain in terms that people understood, in the sense that he was culturally relevant, in the sense that he would explain things in terms of sowing and reaping. He would explain things in terms of farming. He would explain things in terms that people understood, because it connected with people at that point in time.
Right.
The issue, if we do not embrace technology that is being embraced by other people, then the problem is our reach in this world starts to diminish and diminish and diminish and diminish and diminish.
Right.
Right? And when our reach diminishes, then what happens is that the light that Christ has asked us to shine, because Jesus himself said, do not hide your light, right, underneath a basket, right, but you must let it shine. And he said, we're the salt and light of this world, right, but here's what we do. If we do not embrace technology, then we do not embrace the very thing that can spread that light to all sorts of people. And by default, okay, we're feeding ground to the enemy, because guess what? Once the technology comes, people are going to use it anyway. Now they can use it for good, or they can use it for evil, because technology is just a catalyst. Yeah. The question is, what are you going to put in there with a catalyst for it to catalyze and react? Well, with this technology being a catalyst, blockchain technology and cryptocurrency, now if we're able to use it, right, and put good things and mix it in with a catalyst, then it has the potential to produce something absolutely amazing, which is ultimately what Jesus did. When Jesus came, there were, in Matthew chapter 9, it tells us that, Matthew chapter 9, verse 32-33, actually, it talks about how people said, it's never been seen like this before.
Right.
See, Jesus was innovative in what he did. He came healing people and doing things that had never been seen before. That is what you call creativity and innovation in a sense, right?
Right.
And this is innovative, it's creative, it's new. People haven't seen it. But just because it's new doesn't mean it's not God. Just because it's new doesn't mean we should be afraid of it. If we embrace it and use it for good, then good can come out of it.
Well,
and as churches, we cannot be afraid of being actually in the forefront of using technology to do good. Because if we don't, then the billions of people that are suffering will continue to suffer, and our reach in this world will not be as much as it could be. And I do not want that.
With Christcoin, does it make it easier for people in other countries that have trouble obtaining their funds? Does that make it easier for them to access funds?
Yes, it will be. Yes, Christcoin is a digital currency or cryptocurrency which we have introduced. And the way cryptocurrencies work is this: it is decentralized. Now, why is that important? That is important because the world economy right now, right, involves people, the movement of money and of funds through a banking system.
Correct.
Okay. In other words, if you are not connected to a bank, you will not be able to take part in the economic engine that drives the world. You don't have access to resources. For example, imagine if we wanted to buy a house over here. I don't know too many people that can pay for a house, let's say $300,000 cash down, right?
Correct.
Most people go to a bank and then they get a loan. Well, if you don't have access to a bank, right, or you don't qualify, then what happens is that you're not able to provide things to your family, you're not able to get investments, you're not able to take part in the global economic engine. Now, the sobering number behind this is that it is estimated that there are over 2.5 billion people, billion with a B, in the world that are unbanked. That means they do not either have access to banks or access to bank, or they're unable to open up an account. And if you actually take a look at the number that are not able to open up an account, it's way more than 2.5 billion. Some estimates put it closer to 5 billion.
Wow.
Now, when you're thinking about that, what the advantage of cryptocurrency is this. It being decentralized means that nobody now needs those people that engage and use cryptocurrency. They do not need to be a member of a bank because it is actually a decentralized system. Okay, that means anybody can have access to it as long as you have any kind of a phone that has any sort of access to the internet or so.
Okay.
And if you have that, then you can gain access to this network and move money around. And now all of a sudden you can take part in this global economic system, right? Which is very important. Okay, which is very important. So therefore, Coin and other cryptocurrencies are ways by which we can reach over 2.5 billion people and give them an access into the global economy. For lack of a better word, this is like putting your first rung on the ladder so that you can climb out of the pit. If we do not embrace this, what it means is that there's going to be a small portion of the human population in the world that will forever have to continue to contribute money because we've created a system by which the people that need it the most cannot get themselves out of poverty. Not because they don't want to work hard, but because of the current financial system that we have.
Right.
And so therefore, Coin, blockchain technology, cryptocurrency is a way by which we can do good and help people so that they can become productive and fulfill the purpose for which Christ has called them.
It reminds me of, how people go to other countries to dig wells for water. It's not that the water isn't there. They just don't have access, and these people come and build the wells to give them access to the water that, once they give them the access and teach them how to grow their plants and things like that, those things that they just don't have access to, it just opens up, once you remove the poverty, the starvation, all of those basic needs, then, and especially if it comes in the form of, like this, where it's just given, it's take this. This is a gift from God. In one way or another, this came to you from God. I mean, 2.5 billion people affected by God, even if half of those came to know the Lord because they finally had access to money that could provide for their family or whatever needs they have, like that. It's staggering to think of those numbers of how many millions of people that will more than likely, be touched enough to learn more about our Savior. I think it's so incredible. I mean, I never thought about it, but I also haven't traveled the world like you have. So, I mean, that's the problem with technology. We can share this. I can share your interview with tons and tons of people, and then those people are like, "What? These countries, how many people don't have access to banks? It's something taken for granted in so many countries that are like the US, where we just, we take it for granted that we can not only walk to a bank, there's one on every 5 feet. There's a bank everywhere you look. There's online banks that we have access to that you have very little knowledge. You only have to have like a name and a social security number to open. And,
Right.
prepaid cards. And there's all kinds of ways we can access money. But the fact that these people are not able to access them for basic needs or for advancing their ministries, missionaries, can do more things. I mean, it's so incredible. Do you encourage people to go to a certain website to get started?
Absolutely. There are two websites. The first one right now, because we are in our crowdfunding stage and we really want people to get involved. And when I say crowdfunding, it's because we want to bring all the tools that the website Life Change is going to have into the marketplace quicker. But we are committed to bringing this into the marketplace, regardless of what a crowdfunding does. But there are two websites. The primary one is www.christcoins, that's plural, christcoins.io. Again, www.christcoins.io. And in there, people can read our marketing deck and peruse our white paper to get more information, more detailed information. And if they have any questions, they can email us at info@christcoins.io. And there they can get started. And then there's another website, www.lifechange.io. And this is where the platform is going to be. Very soon, in this month, and so in less than 30 days, we are going to be launching our Bible platform as well as a blogging platform, right? And so this is so people will have access to it. Now, when people do go, if people do want to engage, the first thing is in order to earn these Christ coins, they're going to have to to create a digital wallet, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that we have instructions for that on the website, which is christcoins.io. It's a step-by-step instruction of how they can create a digital wallet so that when they get on the platform, lifechange.io, and they earn the digital currency, then it can go to their digital wallet, which is more like a digital bank account. By the way, I just want to mention the reason why we're asking people to participate in the crowdfunding is twofold. One, the more people know about it and the more people take part in this, the higher the value of each Christ coin is going to be.
Oh,
and this is important because of this. The higher the value of the Christ coin, the more and the faster we can reach people. Okay? If a Christ coin is worth, for example, 1 cent, it's not bad, but it's much better if the value of a Christ coin is worth $1.
Oh, yeah.
Because the higher the value, the more the churches that are benefiting from this, the more they'll be able to do, the more the people in third world countries and even us over here will be able to benefit. Right? They'll be able to benefit. Now, I did want to say one thing just because I didn't want to miss it. Sometimes we take it for granted over here that even in the U.S., although there are banks everywhere, not everybody has a bank account because they just don't qualify.
Right.
Right? So it can even benefit people over here. And just because you have a bank account doesn't mean that if you want to start a business, that a bank will give you the loan.
Right.
Right? And so these are, by having this system that bypass things that are potentially hindering the community, what we're ultimately doing is that we're opening up doors of opportunity to be able to do the work of God, and to give people the opportunity to lift themselves out of poverty and fulfill their dreams. That's why we call it rebuilding dreams. And then we can repair lives and we can revive people's hopes, especially today in the third world.
Yeah, it's hard to. My mom was very into missions growing up. She hosted missionaries in our home and things like that. And one of the things she would tell me is, when people are starved of their basic needs, it's hard to reach them. If you don't, the Bible says if someone's, cold, you don't just say, God be with you. You don't just say, I'll be praying for you. You get them a coat, and
Yeah.
when you work on just helping them with their basic needs, that reaches them on another when they're deficit, whether it's their ministry that's going on, or it's their actual family that's helping. Like when you help that basic need on a foundation level like that, it just changes everything about how much they value information they get from you. They're so much more receptive to who how is this happening. This is through. And I love that it is called Christ coin, because if someone benefits from it, they can't say it didn't come from God. I mean, if they benefit from it, then every time, it seems like every time you access it, you see the word Christ, and that I think you would take that money more seriously, and you would invest it in other people more seriously, because his name is affiliated with it. And I think it's incredible, especially for, again, all the people that we can't reach. And like when I have three kids. When they were younger, there's no way I could, I couldn't go to another country. I had three little kids. but
Right.
but through this, it's something they can do. And some people don't know where to start. They don't know where to start helping, and this is a way that it can say, here's a first step. Here's a way you can get involved on any level, depending on what their participation is. And even if it's just giving money into the program, like you're with the crowdfunding, it's a way to start help. It's help other people help other people. And that's the incredible thing about that. And I'm so thankful to talk to you, and I could literally talk to you all day, I'm pretty sure. You're so interesting, and I love hearing your accent's so cool. But you have such a I can hear, like, you have such a passion for the vision that God has laid on your heart, that literally it's infectious. I could sit here and listen to you forever. But
And thank you so much, Indra, for giving me the opportunity. When God opens the door, we have to walk through it. And I thank God that you saw it fit to be able to give Life Change and the team this platform to be able to share it. Because one thing that Jesus did was he walked to different places to declare that the kingdom of heaven was at hand. And
yeah.
so if the kingdom of heaven is there, and so that's one of the things we must do. Now, if the kingdom of heaven had come and nobody knew about it, unfortunately, that's an issue. And I'm using that as an analogy to say, when things like this, come, and when things like this, that they're really going to help, that come to the fore, what you are doing is giving us an opportunity to at least let people become aware. Now, it's up to people to decide whether they're going to act on it, but without you, Ginger, right, we wouldn't be able to reach as many people now that we'll be able to reach. So I truly appreciate you, wanting to share this interview on social media and linking it to the Facebook page and telling as many people about it. Because indeed, I truly believe that you're giving people that listen to your show and then read the magazine an opportunity now at doing something that the Christ has called them to do. In that sense, people who have responsibilities now, they can read the Bible, and when they're reading the Bible on a platform now, they're earning tokens that they can give, and they can feel that they're also partaking in the work of Christ. And I think that is really important. And so I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity. I really believe that you're truly doing God's work, and at least giving me the opportunity to be able to impact people through you and the platform that you have built.
Well, I'm honored, honestly. I mean, you've personally, I just you have such an interesting background and all the different educations, and then just your passion to with life change and Christ coin. I mean, just it's so interesting, and you're so infectious as a person. I would
You've at least you've read a little bit about it. You've given us an opportunity, and yeah, so that really means a lot because we're still in it, right? We're in it for the long run.
yeah.
But as much help as you can get,